Hi, Unfiltered Waters family. Thank you so much for joining again. Today, we've got something so special. Our first international athlete. We have Summer McIntosh joining us today. Summer swims for Team Canada, and she has just been an absolute phenom in the sport over the last several years. Summer is 17 years old, and she is a 4-time world champion, a 2-time Commonwealth Games gold medalist, and the current world record holder in the 400 IM. Summer made her first Olympic team in Tokyo at just 14 years old, where she was the youngest member of Team Canada's Olympic team, and she still ended up getting 4th, which is absolutely incredible. Summer is wise beyond her years. She is so mature, an incredible head on her shoulders, and we just have such a great conversation with her, talking about all things training, what keeps her motivated, where she gets her confidence from, and at 17 years old, she is truly going to blow you away. We, of course, also talk about how she still remains 17 years old and the things she likes to do, like scrolling TikTok and wakeboarding, that make her just your average 17-year-old when she's not breaking world records. So without further ado, please enjoy this wonderful conversation with Summer McIntosh.
This podcast is a Cannonball Media production.
We want to take a minute and shout out one of our very special sponsors, Little Words Project. As you guys are now well aware, we ask our guests at the end of every episode what their word is, what the word is that is motivating them, encouraging them, something that they're working towards. And we actually get to send each of our guests their own personalized Little Words Project bracelet to have as a wearable affirmation of what their word is, as each of our guests is fighting for their incredible dreams.
These bracelets make incredible gifts, so whether you're looking to treat yourself or treat your loved ones, Missy and I wear ours, many of them, every single day. So go shopping at littlewordsproject.com.
Hey everyone, we just wanted to give a super special shout out to our amazing production staff over at Cannonball Media. We have an amazing team behind this podcast, and we couldn't do it without them. So thank you so much for all of your help.
If you're looking to start your own podcast, they take care of everything from A to Z. So reach out to cannonballmedia.co. Summer McIntosh, welcome to Unfiltered Waters.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
We are so happy to have you here. Katie and I both have been following you, for as long as you've been swimming, and to see you over the years has just been such a joy. So even before you got on, I was saying it's so fun because you're one of those athletes that, came up a little after both of us. And so we haven't had a whole lot of interaction in person together. So I'm personally just so excited for this conversation and to get to know you better.
It's so sweet. I'm so excited.
And notice how she was like a little after, like I'm 6 years older than Missy, and I don't even want to go into how much older I am than you. So thank you for that nice little.
See? And I grouped us together.
You did group us together. I appreciate that. Well, we're talking to you on a Wednesday, which is the middle of the week. How are you feeling? How are things going?
All good. Wednesdays are definitely some of our hardest practices, but it is nice because it is a single day for us and we only train once in the morning. So usually after, I'll kind of crash for a few hours, have a nap, eat, and kind of get ready for the second half of the week, which is always pretty treacherous and hard, but at the same time fun.
Oh, good. Are you, in terms of training, I would always be the worst on Mondays, and I would actually get better as the week went on. What are you like in terms of training? Do you feel like it ebbs and flows, or is it kind of consistent?
I think it depends on our training schedule and kind of the training outline for the week, because it kind of depends where we are in our training cycle, like where we are to a meet. But I would say I'm probably a little bit similar. Getting going on Monday morning at 5 a.m. is definitely hard for me, but it's usually more of an aerobic practice, so it's a little bit easier. But I'd say by Saturday, I'm very, very physically dead. But I think that's kind of where the mental part comes in, and I really have to get myself up for it. So I don't think I'm training. I'm definitely not fresh on Saturday, but I'd say Wednesdays are actually probably when I feel the best in the water.
Yeah, because you're kind of warmed up from the beginning of the week, but you're not totally demolished like we are on Saturday morning. Well, thank you so much again for talking to us. We know you have a lot coming up this year, and Canadian trials are quickly approaching, which is so exciting. But before we dig into the swimming side of stuff, we really wanted to talk about your family. You have such an amazing relationship with your family. Your family members in and of themselves are incredible and so accomplished. So for those that don't know, your mom was an Olympic swimmer as well in 1984. She swam the 200 fly. So talk to us a little bit about that really special connection that you have with your mom, how much of a role she has played so far in your career as an incredible support system, I'm sure, but just what it's like to share in something so special with someone who's so close to you.
Yeah, it's so special. I mean, having someone, especially some like my mom, to kind of gone through the same experiences that I'm currently going through, obviously quite a long time ago, but it's just really cool to share that extra special bond and within the same sport and within a same event as well, because I also swim the 200 fly. And just growing up, hearing so many of her stories and her experiences being at the 1984 games and how things have changed, yet how things have stayed the same. It's just really cool to kind of hear her perspective on things.
Is she a mom that it kind of stays back and isn't like a helicopter parent because she knows what it's like? Or how? I'm just curious how she operates as being an Olympian herself.
Yes, exactly. She knows the sport better than most would, as she's kind of gone through it herself. And she knows the exact feeling of when I have a bad race or a bad practice or anything like that. She knows my perspective and understands it. And she knows, like, I just want my space. And it's really between me and my coach to figure things out. And she's always just there to support me. And it's just great so that she has my perspective and is also just my mom and is always just being supportive of me and is driving me everywhere, cooking me meals, and just being the best.
That's so sweet. It's so funny for me to even imagine that situation because my mom is the furthest thing from an Olympics. I love her to death, but that must be so cool. And especially now that, you've been doing a lot more of the 2 fly, so you're actually sharing in that. Is there ever a moment when you're like, hey mom, race strategy, 2 fly, what do you got?
I wouldn't say I ask her for race strategy in the 2 fly, but I've seen her race at the Olympics. It's not the best quality. It's kind of hard to see, but it was really cool to see like what her stroke was like and things like that. And even like the time she used to go. I mean, at my old club at eSwim, she still had the record up until when I broke it. So that was pretty cool to kind of share that with her. And that was always like a thing that I wanted to break, was one of her club records at eSwim.
I was going to say, what age did you beat her time that she swam in the Olympics?
So I don't know exactly. I think she went to 11 to 12.
That's 1984.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I didn't go that till, I don't know, probably like 12, 13, I think. I mean, I could be completely wrong because I didn't do other strokes other than freestyle for a while, but it definitely took me a while to get to that time. But that's pretty fast. Other than like she was top 5 in the world in 1985, I believe. And other than Mary T, there was like a bunch of them around that time.
Oh my gosh, that's such a special thing to share. And your sister is incredibly accomplished as well. Yeah. So your sister's on the national team for pairs figure skating. And I know that you both did both sports growing up. You both did swimming, you both did skating. And you said at one point that the part of skating that you didn't like was the judgment and kind of, how intense it was that you're putting yourself out there, giving your best, and then kind of relying on, a separate set of eyes and ears to be judging your competition and give you a rating. And I love it because swimming's like the total opposite of that, right? There's this it's so black and white and straightforward. But how fun is it watching your sister do so well, succeeding in what she loves? And did you guys also do other sports growing up, or were you pretty both set in skating and swimming? Because we heard you were pretty good at skating too.
Yeah, my sister is such a special person, and she's an incredible figure skater. I mean, growing up, we did do a bunch of other sports as well. Basically anything you can name of: gymnastics, horseback riding, soccer, dance, ballet, everything you can think of. And we both were in each other's sports as well, up until I think I was around 9 when I decided to go with swimming rather than figure skating, because those were the last 2 I was in. And it was because I didn't really like not being in full control of my results at a competition. And I liked the simplicity of swimming and kind of just focusing on getting my hand on the wall first rather than making it look all pretty with knives on my feet. But I have so much respect for my sister being able to do that and being thrown around all the time. It's just wild to me. Like, I can't imagine waking up every morning and knowing I'm going to be thrown around everywhere and like with knives on my feet on the ice. Like, it's a crazy concept to me. So it's such an art, and I don't think a lot of people realize how much of a aerobic thing it is as well. You're going all out, skating around the ice as fast as possible for 4 minutes on end while trying to make it look pretty and memorizing the choreography. So it's definitely it's a tough sport.
How many flips, or I guess what's the craziest move that you could do before you stopped?
I could do a single axel, so that's one flip around. I mean, I think there's like 4 or 5 different kinds of jumps, but I think I got to that when I was maybe 8 years old. Funny story. So I was actually better than my sister at figure skating. And at the same time, she was also better at swimming than I was. So, and we ended up choosing the other sports, which is so strange. But, no, she's such a natural swimmer. I mean, during quarantine, I remember at my old house, we had a outdoor pool, and like to get some extra like just aerobic training in, because she wasn't on the ice and I wasn't in the water, I'd like coach her and do some like swim practice with her, and she was such a natural. She knows how to do all 4 strokes, and she's still a really good swimmer. If I stepped on the ice right now, I would definitely fall flat on my face.
You and me both.
Yeah. I feel like swimmer ankles are not okay for anything, like rollerblading, roller skating. I had a moment where my husband had to rescue me in the middle of a roller skating rink because I couldn't do it. Like, my ankles were so flexed.
You're like baby giraffe on
I was
skates.
like, come get me. So yeah, swimmer ankles are meant for flutter kick and dolphin kick and nothing else.
Yes, exactly.
Is your sister looking towards Paris as a potential opportunity as well? Or is there another opportunity that she's looking at moving forward that she has her kind of goals and eyes set on?
Yes, I definitely think she's looking towards the Olympics. I mean, growing up, since my mom was in the Olympics, I think it's always been a dream of ours. And we grew up super competitive between each other in obviously a healthy way. But we've always kind of shared that passion and love for sports. But since it's a winter sport, I think it's in 2026. I don't know so I don't know where it is, but she's definitely aiming towards that. And yeah, she's probably the hardest trainer I know. I mean, I don't know much about skating, but the hours she puts in and the amount of time and energy it takes, like she's doing weightlifting and she's on the ice all the time. Then they have jump classes, and they even do like ballet classes so they can have like perfect like hand gestures and stuff. So it's really cool, and just to kind of see how their training is like. So, but yeah, she's definitely aiming towards the Olympics one day, I believe.
That's amazing. So it'd be 2026 for her would be her next opportunity.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's so cool. Well, speaking of the Olympics, I want to delve into that a little bit with you. So you were, for people who don't know, you were the youngest member of the Canadian Olympic team at 14 years old back in 2021. So I want to hear a little bit about your experience. I know that you got 4th place and just missed the podium. So talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Yes, I remember making the 2020 Olympics/2021 Olympics like it was yesterday. I remember all of the Olympic trials and remember the flights and all the experiences. It felt like it was yesterday. Time flies, and I think I was only 14. I still feel like that age sometimes. But so much has changed since then, obviously. But yeah, it was such a cool experience, and it was such an outer body experience. I don't think it's still even sunk in that I'm an Olympian. That's wild to me, to be honest. But it was so cool, and to do it at that age was also really special. And I owe it all to the people I was surrounded by. I mean, I was at the time training with so many Olympic medalists and previous world record holders. And they really treated me as a little sister, and they were veterans of the sport. So they taught me so much about what to expect before we went into Tokyo for the games. So having that kind of by my side at all times was incredible, and I couldn't have done it without them. It was so important to have, and everyone on Team Canada, it was such a special moment to share with one another, and we're just like a family, and we're all very close. So it was a really, really cool, and it's something I'll never forget.
I mean, to be in an Olympic final, like I remember my first games, I just turned 15, and I just remember being able to be top 8. Obviously, you're going for best times, you're going for medals, but I just remember it setting me up so well for the next time of just knowing what it's like being in an Olympic final. It's like I can only describe it as like you're on a roller coaster and it's like click, 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 click before you walk out and then you experience it. But to be that young, I don't think people even realize like you don't have your driver's license, like you're living at home, your mom's cooking for you and driving for you, and then to then go represent your country, it's a pretty surreal experience.
Yes, for sure. And that was actually my first national team, junior or senior. So that was my first time kind of doing an away meet with just team travel on my own. And especially since there was COVID, it was a completely isolated situation. But I think it kind of set me up for anything that's thrown at me now is kind of like super easy compared to that. But it was so cool still. I mean, obviously there was no spectators or anything like that, but there was still all of Swimming Canada in the stands for every race. And I still remember walking out for the final or semifinals or whatever. I still remember every race very vividly. And it's just so cool. Like, I think at the time I didn't really let it sink in at all what I was actually doing. I kind of just treated it like any other swim meet. So I think that's kind of what helped me mentally at the time because it was all very surreal.
But that's a hard balance. I'm so glad you brought that up because you almost have to do that, right? Especially as a 14-year-old. It's like it's so easy to get swept up in the moment and to kind of be focused in on like, you know what? Yes, this is the Olympics, but at the end of the day, it is just another swim meet. And I'm doing all the events that I've swam 100 times before. I just have to get up and keep doing what I do. And then you get home and you can kind of be like, oh, wait.
I just swam in the Olympics.
That was really, really cool.
Exactly.
And your highest placement was 4th, which is incredible regardless, let alone as a 14-year-old.
Thank you.
So after that experience, what do you feel like your biggest takeaways were from Tokyo and kind of some of the snippets that you feel like you're really going to be bringing into this next summer to aid you as you move forward to hopefully your second Olympic team?
Yes, I mean, every time I go to whether it's a Worlds, Commonwealth Games, especially the Olympics, I've learned so much about the preparation it takes weeks prior to your first race of the meet. I mean, not only physical, but mental as well, visualization and realizing what it's going to be like, looking at your schedule and kind of taking things down to a T. Okay, I need to warm up at this time because my race is at this time, and kind of figuring out what works for me is also really important. It also takes trial and error. So I think the more I do it, the better I get at it. And it comes a routine and kind of consistency is key when it comes to those sort of things. So yes, definitely that the first big meet was the Olympics for me. And I think that was just a crazy way to kind of start it off. But since then, I've just tried to grow each time and kind of jot in my head kind of what I've learned from each experience and kind of carried those through to the next big meet.
And that is something I admire so much about you, Summer, is in the interviews we listened to and what we read leading up to this conversation. For, again, any age, but for your age, you are so honed in on how you can improve. And it's just, I feel like it's just constant in your mind that you're just turning over page after page. What can I do here? How can I be better here? How can I fix this? How can I do that? And it's such a testament to everything you've already accomplished and everything you will accomplish. Is that a mindset that comes naturally to you? Or is that something that you feel like you've really worked on over the years to get into that, okay, there's always something I can be doing to become better, faster, technique, anything just to get that 1% better each day?
Yes, I think a lot of my need to feel the need to keep improving and just want to keep moving forward is a lot comes from just me being super competitive with myself. And even I remember like in grade 4 gym class, like whenever we would do like the running beep test, I would always want to win. And I just think I really just try to keep it personal to myself and kind of stay in my own lane as I can only achieve my greatest is what I can do. And I can only be the best I can be, and kind of really just focusing in on myself and doing what I can do to improve, because you're no control of anyone else and what their results will be. So kind of just keeping it super personal and within yourself is super important to me, and also being able to collaborate with training hard with my teammates every day and my coaches is just like such a team effort, but at the same time I'm really just focusing in on myself as well.
Where did that mentality come from? Like, was that from your mom, your coaches? Because I know I actually feel like that's really unique. You know, it's so easy to get swept up in these external expectations and what people are saying. And when you go to the Olympics and, you know, the media is chattering, right? So how do you stay within yourself when all of that's going on around you?
I think it's not just from one specific person. I mean, of course, my mom, my sister, and my dad, but also just growing up with a bunch of other swimmers and athletes surrounding me. Because I went to in middle school, I was at a athletic program school, so everyone kind of was like-minded. Along with, again, just people that I was training with leading up to the Olympics. They were just so like complete veterans of the sport and really had that perspective of kind of taking out any outer noise and keeping that out, and not listening to media and just really focusing in on the task at hand. And I learned a lot of that from my coaches as well, so much from my coaches over the years. So I really owe it all to them.
Have you had a moment or a time so far up in your career where it really put that mentality to the test? Like, has there been a time where you felt like that need to improve, the wanting to improve was ever tested in a way where you were like, okay, I either need to step back, I need to take a break, I have a lot going on right now? Or has it always just been, no, like I can always do something, I can always keep moving forward?
Well, I think my need to improve and the wanting to improve is able to keep out of balance, because when I'm at practice, I'm 100% focused on the task at hand, like whatever I need to do, pushing my body to the limit every single day, every single practice, every single meter. But then when I'm away from the pool, whether that's on the weekends or in between practices or at night, I'm just like any other normal teenager. I'm either chilling on the couch, watching a movie, or hanging with my friends, going to see a movie, or shopping, or going on TikTok too much. But just kind of just taking my mind off and away from the pool. I'm not one to be an overthinker when it comes to swimming, and I think that's kind of what helps with the longevity of it. And so I'm either not 0 or 100, but in ways I am. I think when I'm outside of the pool, I mean, I'm always an athlete, but I can really take my mind off things and kind of give my brain and body a rest, for sure.
That's so important to have.
I'm so jealous.
Katie is quite the overthinker.
I'm quite the overthinker. So, sometimes I think there's like, you're born like that and you just like are overthinking it. Sometimes I think it's environment. But as a potentially future mom, I'm like, how can I help my kids just be that, right? Like be in the moment, be really into it when you're at training, but then, like you said, having that off switch to be able to go home and just be a normal 17-year-old and have fun and watch the Kardashians and TikTok too much, because that's the best. But that's incredible that you're able to do that.
Yeah, it definitely takes practice, but I don't know what it is that kind of taught me how to do it, but I think just over time I learned, okay, if I want to be able to go 100% focus in all practice, like I need some sort of break, and I kind of get that from outlets like friends and family and chilling and in school even and things like that. So just kind of finding a sort of balance is really, really important to withstand longevity in the sport.
It's so important, and it's part of what makes you enjoy the journey as well, and not just the destination, right? Like we've talked about that on the podcast as well, is, yes, the big competitions are so exciting and they're great, but ultimately our sport, our profession, what we do is day in and day out. Just the hours that we spend. And if you're able to just really be present and focus when you're in the water each day, like that was one of my favorite parts of the sport, is no matter what was going on outside of the swimming pool, when I was in practice, there was literally nothing else I could do but get better at swimming. Like that was it. And so that made me just so much more intentional. And I know teammates are a huge part of that as well. And you mentioned earlier how close your fellow teammates are, who you train with, but also on the Canadian team. And you're our first, also, I don't even think we said this, our first non-American swimmer. Oh, nice. So we're so excited. But I'm sure our listeners, as well as us, are just intrigued to learn more about the culture of the Canadian team and your experience and any fun team traditions that you guys do. But give us a little behind the scenes look at Team Canada swimming.
Yeah, I mean, Team Canada, we're just, it's such a tight-knit family. I mean, it's kind of cool because we're in this kind of transition phase right now. I think there's still a lot of older swimmers and veterans of the sport that have that a lot of experience, but there's so many younger swimmers coming up, like Ella Jansen and Lauren Wannington and et cetera, and kind of having that super young girls and boys with men and women and kind of meshing together, and kind of, it's just a cool age ratio. And everyone in between, and we're all super close because at one point most of us were all training together. I mean, we're not a super huge team. I think it's growing every time we go to a Worlds or a big meet like that. But yeah, I just think everyone's super close. We're like a family, and we all get along really well, and it's so special. And same with the coaches. I know all the coaches there, and they're usually the same every big team. So kind of getting to know other coaches from other clubs or centers as well is also really important. So kind of sharing the same bonds it's just amazing to have.
So on Team USA, you have to do rookie skits, like when it's your first time on the national team. What was your first rookie skit? I got to know.
So, okay, so they actually stopped doing that. Why? I actually don't know. But so I luckily never had to do one.
Missed it.
But I don't know why I think they stopped it in 2016, but I've heard crazy stories about the rookie skits that they did prior to when I was on the team. I don't know if they're even ones I can share on here.
Well, when we hit stop record.
They totally stopped them. So I didn't really have to do anything when I made my first team for like the Olympics or anything like that. The only thing we had to do was we were at dinner one night. We all had to stand up individually and say our name, our favorite flavor of ice cream, and if we could have one superpower, what would it be? And mine were obviously Summer McIntosh, chocolate. And I said to never age, and everyone thought that was so funny that I said to never age.
Because you're 14 years old.
Yeah, and I was the youngest in the room. But yeah, most other people's were like to fly or like to read minds, but I don't know. I was really stuck on to never age.
No, I think that's an awesome superpower.
That was my team thing.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean that's mine. I feel like
and now we have our new superpower, which
I think mine was to fly, but that just seems like there's going to be a way to fly soon. I feel like a jetpack or something.
Yeah.
So, also like a little impractical because technically there are ways for you to get here and there versus not aging.
Yeah.
Total side note. That is so sweet though. I love that. Our rookie skits have varied. We did stop them for a little bit. I think they're still going, but kind of for the same reason. I think that the jokes maybe got a little bit too
deep.
Yeah, too sensitive. And so we were like, let's focus on bringing the team together and team bonding because very similar. Team USA is such an incredible culture and community, and it's so close. And I don't know if you get asked this, but we would get asked all the time after people watched us at the Olympics and on TV. They'd be like, are you really that close with your teammates? Like, is Team USA really that supportive? And we'd be like, yes, like, no, that's who we are. We're a family. And I think that says a lot about the success that Team Canada has had too. I mean, over the past several years, just the athletes that you guys have had that are just achieving so much within the sport. And I feel like really making swimming a big name for itself in Canada. Do you feel like that's happening where you are? Do you feel like swimming is really starting to gain traction and popularity because of the amazing athletes that we've seen out of Team Canada the last several years?
Yes, 100%. I think since 2016 is where we really started to pick up momentum. I mean, I remember since my mom was part of the alumni, I was able to go on deck and like give a high five to all the people that made the 2016 Rio Olympic team. And ever since then, that was when I really started my dream to make the Olympics. But seeing what Penny's done and Kylie's done and Maggie's done since then is really incredible. And now on the men's side as well with Josh and everything like that. And along with the relays, we've just been killing it. So it's really cool to be a part of. And like you said, people ask if you really are that close. And I think people don't understand the amount of like emotional and mental side of things the sports bring. And I think we bond over that so well with one another within Swimming Canada is because we share so many similar experiences, especially on relays. I think relays are such a great team aspect, and that's one of the things I really love about swimming is that it is such an individual sport, but you get to train with other teammates every single day, and you kind of have that team aspect as well with relays. So I think relays are definitely a super bonding as well. So I've always loved relays.
Same. Do you have someone, I know on Team USA, the other piece coming in as a super young athlete, there's so many people that are veterans and have been great mentors to me. I know you had some as well. Do you have someone or a couple people that really took you under their wing?
As Olympians and elite athletes, Katie and I definitely understand the importance of sleep and recovery, but now just as a mom, as a professional, as podcast host, we still understand that sleep is so, so important. And we are incredibly thankful to one of our sponsors, Dream Recovery, for creating such incredible and impactful products that are science-backed to help you get the optimal night's sleep.
My favorite product is the pink Dream Tape. I have not stopped wearing it since I put it on my mouth 6 months ago. It helps me fall asleep faster and gives me the best night's sleep I've ever had.
And for those of you that are a little hesitant about mouth taping, they just released mouth strips. So it's a little strip as opposed to the full tape. It has all the same benefits as a full piece of tape, but it's a little bit more of a segue for those who are a little bit nervous or are wanting to try out something. And I have been loving those.
So we've got a special code for you. It's code Unfiltered for 30% off your order and 50% off your first month subscription of Dream Tape. Sweet dreams.
Good night.
If you guys are anything like us, you are willing to try and do anything to make yourselves even 1/10 better in your races. Your equipment can be a huge part of elevating you to be your best, and we are so excited to tell you about the Magic 5. They make custom fit goggles from an app that scans your face to make you a pair of goggles that fits you uniquely and perfectly.
Like, what a cool concept. Katie and I have both been wearing these goggles anytime we get in the water because you know that we would never promote something to you all that we both haven't tried and tested, and we absolutely love these. They have such a sleek look. They come with an anti-fog spray that is literally life-changing, and they have not leaked one time that we have worn them. They are so comfy because they are literally made to fit your face perfectly, and you can choose whatever color you want after you scan your face in the app and order your pair. We are so excited to be able to offer you a 20% discount on your very own pair of Magic 5 goggles. Just use the website www.themagic5/unfiltered to have your discount automatically applied. We know you guys will love these as much as we do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't name one specifically, but I remember at the Olympics, I was rooming with Maggie McNeil, and that was so cool. But I was also so nervous because the night before the 100 fly final, I was like, okay, I cannot move. I cannot go to the washroom. I cannot wake her up, even though she's like the deepest sleeper I know. That was so cool because every time she would walk back into our room, she would have another Olympic medal. And I was just like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, it was so cool. And she's such a sweet girl, and she's so smart. And I've learned so much from her. And yeah, but within the Olympic Village, it wasn't just 2 people per room. It was like individual rooms, and then you would have a hallway, and it was like probably like 6 to 8 people per room. So, and most of the people in our kind of quad area were people that I trained with at the time. So that was really cool. And yeah, so many, like on both the women and men's side, so many people have taken me under their wing, and I've learned so much from everyone on the team. And we're just such a close team, and we all know each other on a very personal level. So it's just really cool.
Mm-hmm. That's so awesome. I remember some of my favorite memories from the Village are just the times that I spent with my roommates.
Yeah.
Just in our room, and kind of you're in the most intense environment imaginable. And yet, you know, you pull out a deck of cards and like you just sit down and it's like, you're just with your best girlfriends, just playing a card game, and you happen to be sitting in the middle of an Olympic Village days out from the most intense, exciting, exhilarating experience of your life. But for that moment, you're just teammates and friends and
teenagers.
Yes. No, I know that, you know, in those circumstances, you've handled the pressure so incredibly well. You do swim the same events as some of the most iconic swimmers this sport has ever seen. When you get up behind the blocks, when you're swimming to names like Katie Ledecky, what is your approach? What is your mindset when you go into that? Because you yourself are bringing so much behind the block, being Summer McIntosh, and to have that as well. How do you balance those things of having that confidence in yourself, having the respect for the competitors you have around you, and also never feeling intimidated and remaining confident in who you are?
I think it takes a lot of practice. But anytime I get to race any top competitors, especially someone like Katie Ledecky, is an opportunity I'll never try and take for granted, and I really try to stay in the moment. And it's just so cool because I remember at the age of 10, 11, 12, I had quotes of Katie Ledecky's on my wall that I would make posters of, and to now be able to race beside her. And one of the most special moments was the 400 free Olympic final, being with her and Ariane and all of those people, and sharing, being in the race with, that was such an historic race. I mean, I wasn't as much of a part of it, of course, but even just being able to race alongside them is so, so cool. And I've learned so much, and it's super, super surreal, I'd say. And every time I race any of my top competitors across all of my events, I learn so much about myself, and I've really tried to keep that improvement, keep going forward. And it's very, very surreal, I'd say, though. Very surreal.
Yeah, I feel like people don't truly understand, like you have posters of that person, you have quotes of that person, and then suddenly you look to your right and you're like, oh my gosh, now I'm racing this person and I'm supposed to try to beat this person. It's such a weird shift. And I think for athletes or anyone listening, like, how did you make that shift going from, I really look up to this person, but now, oh my God, I'm next to them and I'm racing them?
I think I just try not to overthink it. I mean, it is so cool, and I have so much respect for someone like Katie and what she's done in the sport of swimming. Just absolutely incredible. And I've tried to, of course, I have respect, but at the same time, I still want to get my hand on the wall first, or whatever I can possibly do to be the best I can be in that race. So I just try not to overthink it, not think too much about who exactly I'm racing, but kind of, again, just focusing in on myself and what I can do to be the best I can be in that race.
Where do you draw your confidence from? So I think for some athletes, like for myself, it was all training. It was like the paces I was going. For some other people, it's just like really affirmation based. What do you feel like gives you the biggest boost when you're behind the blocks?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. I'm the same. Training gives me by far the most confidence heading into a meet or a big race. I mean, I don't think about it too much when I'm, like, for example, walking out or in the ready room or behind the blocks, but day to day, the grind of training, every practice, willing to get better and doing everything I possibly can gives me the utmost confidence in any race, because I know once I get on those blocks, I've done everything I possibly can to be the best I can be, and that's all I can really do. Everything else is out of my control. But I think affirmations and the mental side of things is also really important, because you can be physically super in tune, but if you have mentally not prepared well enough for the race and are not mentally clicked in and locked in and ready to go, the moment can kind of pass you by. So that's something that I've also learned a lot of throughout the years, and kind of with being racing in front of hundreds and thousands of people is something that kind of takes a learning experience and takes a few times, but learning how to kind of bounce off that energy is something that I've actually really enjoyed. Now I love racing in front of big crowds, and I find it really fun. So just so many different aspects I think is super important. So I definitely say training is the main confidence booster for me. But along with just adrenaline and being in the moment, always gives me that extra little boost.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Summer, too. Are you still doing kind of the dual training situation where you're a little bit in Florida, a little bit in Toronto?
So in August of last year, that was my plan with Coach Brent Arkey and Coach Ryan Malott back home at the center and here into the Sarasota Sharks. And then moving forward, I made the decision to go full-time at the Sarasota Sharks. I mean, I definitely still go back to Ryan whenever I'm home for Christmases or whatever sort of holiday or things like that. I'll take maybe a week there to visit my family or a few days. And for the summertime, I'm still back in Toronto. So he's always so welcoming, and the center is the best. And I know a lot of the people that still train there, so it's awesome. And he obviously knows me very well because I trained with him for around 2 years. But I am full-time with the Sarasota Sharks now. And Brent's been so accommodating. I remember I came down here just for a visit because everything was getting shut down. This was around 2 years ago because of COVID back in Canada. So I came down here to Florida because I had a few friends down here that moved down here that were also from Canada, just to kind of get away from COVID and try to keep training because everything was getting shut down. And I was down here for about just under a month, I think. And I just remember loving it so, so much, and loving the team environment. And a lot of people visit the Sharks all the time from all over, from all kinds of countries. And a lot of times they'll visit and then they'll end up staying for a while, which is pretty much what happened to me. But yeah, ever since the move, it's just been so awesome. But yeah, it's really nice to be home whenever I can and know whenever I go back to Canada, I'm with a great and training environment as well.
It's so nice to know that you've got great options in both places, and you have coaches and teammates that you trust, and that you trust yourself. I think self-trust is something that is so important as a professional athlete, but not everyone is a professional athlete at your age either. And self-trust, I think, is something that for me personally, I've gotten better with as I've gotten older, but it's still something that I struggle with in making decisions, not just as an athlete, but now as a wife and as a mom, like just trusting my gut instinct and knowing what's best and following through with it. So how do you trust yourself to make these big training decisions, to know what's best for yourself? How do you remain true to you for maybe any of our younger athletes that are listening, that whether it's at an elite level, a club level, whatever it is, that maybe kind of struggle with that idea of self-trust and knowing what's best for them?
Yes, I think I'm in probably a pretty unique situation in some ways, just because I haven't really had a coach for longer than a 2-year span, just for multitude of reasons. But every coach along the way I've absolutely loved and I've learned so much from. So I think that's also really cool, as I've been with a myriad of different coaches and different coaching styles, and I've kind of figured out throughout the years what I like and what I don't necessarily, and kind of what training works best for me and kind of what environments work best for me. So being now with Coach Brent and the Sarasota Sharks, it's so awesome. And going to practice every day, there's always a smile on my face, and I'm always having a good time with my teammates and my friends and all the coaches on deck, Coach Webb and Coach Fern and everyone. It's just, it's the best.
I mean, part of that is you, Summer. I think, the ability to pivot, the ability to communicate, it sounds like that's rare. I'm interested to know, are you really good at voicing, hey, here's what I need, here's what I'm feeling? I know that's usually a sticking point for a lot of athletes. They're scared or they're nervous to talk to their coaches or, someone who's outside the sport, their bosses. How do you create that confidence and that conversation when you're talking to your coaches?
Yes, that's something I had to learn very early on. I think communication is the number one thing for success when it comes between an athlete and a coach relationship. I'm I voice my opinion, and I think being very collaborative with your coach is super important. It's an aspect of coaches that I always look for, is them being able to hear what I have to think and what I have to say on certain topics and things like that, and kind of bouncing and brainstorming ideas off each other is something that I really like. And that's something that Coach Brent and all the coaches that I've been with throughout my career have been really good at, and I really appreciate, because, of course, I'm the only one that's feeling what I'm feeling in the water. So being able to kind of mesh ideas and mesh thoughts and brainstorm off each other is something that takes practice. And finding my voice definitely took a while, because when I was little, I was a little bit more shy. But since I had those coaching changes, I had to learn how to be able to kind of fast track relationships with coaches so they could get to know me as best as possible in and out of the water. So being able to communicate when it comes to technique and training and what I like and what I don't and things like that is super important, so the coaches can know as soon as possible and kind of base training and racing and all things like that off you.
Yeah. Louder for the people in the back.
Yeah, you've said 4 things this interview, and I'm like, say it louder for the people in the back.
You're just so wise beyond your years, and it's I feel like I'm learning so much from you, and it's so incredible to hear the experience that you already have. And again, how grateful for you are that you're sharing that with us and with our listeners. When you look towards this summer, and we won't talk about it too much because we're just excited to watch you and we know there's a lot coming up, but is there anything in particular that you're really looking forward to, or something that you're very excited about? We know it can be a very intense time. So something that you think that is going to bring you joy, that's going to get you excited about all the really fun things that you have coming up.
I think I'm just really excited for this summer, just because, like I mentioned earlier, Swimming Canada, we've really just carried the momentum since 2016. I think this Olympics is looking amazing for us. Last Olympics was incredible. So I'm so excited to see what my teammates can do on Team Canada. We'll be able to do at the Olympics as well. And whenever I get to watch one of them race, it's so exciting. I remember at Worlds, I got to watch Josh, I think it was the Hunter Fly. This was 2022 World Championships in Budapest, and I don't know what race was before mine, but it got me so fired up and pumped up and ready to go. So I always love bouncing off others' energies within Team Canada, and I'm just so excited to see what everyone's going to be able to do at the Olympics, and I think we're all really excited for it.
You brought up Budapest, and I did want to touch on that because you had an historic meet, world records, gold medals, and you swim a for people who don't know, you swim a ton of different events. You have great range, 200 fly, 400 IM, 400 free, all these different races. Can you pinpoint a favorite race?
Of like all time?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Like favorite event. I said a favorite event.
Favorite event. I can't say I have a favorite event because I like them all for different reasons. It's like when you ask a parent who's the favorite child, it's like you like of course like you don't want to say like there's no favorite child, like you like them for different reasons and different perspective and things like that. But I think my favorite race to train for, I would say, is 400 IM because I like to train all 4 strokes and I'm more of like a middle distance kind of swimmer rather than sprint. But yeah, I love racing a myriad of different events, and I think that's what's so fun about it. And so fun about swimming is being able to have different things to train for and on a day-to-day basis. I mean, back preparation before 2020 Olympics, I was only basically training freestyle because my main focus was the 1500 and 800. And kind of before that, I was more on the 400 IM 200 fly kind of side of things. So kind of going back to that after that Olympics was really nice, and it reminded me how much I love training for the IMs and things like that, and being able to train for 200 fly and 200 back. So I don't know. I definitely don't have a specific favorite event because I just like them for different reasons, but they're also fun to race. And every time I get to race, like say a 200 free or a 200 IM, those are more of like the super close races. Those are all really fun too. So I don't have a favorite race, but I definitely love training all 4 strokes every day. It's really fun.
All right. What about what race makes you the most nervous?
I don't know why. I don't get super nervous for races in general, just because with figure skating, I was so nervous before every single, I guess it would be competition. It's not really a meet, because you're on the ice alone, and like if you fall flat on your face, everyone's watching you, and you're getting judged by like 10 people.
And it hurts.
But I'd say
it's painful.
Yeah, it hurts bad. Yeah. But I'd say the one I have the most anticipation for before is probably the 400 IM, just because in my opinion, it's the hardest race in swimming. At least for me, it's by far the most painful. So, or at least top 2 or 3. So I probably get the most nervous for the 400 IM.
Well, you're sitting and talking with someone who would definitely agree with that statement.
I'm like, yes. I Elizabeth Beisel and I always talk about like the ready room in the 400 IM. Like the energy is just like you just said, treacherous earlier. It's treacherous. Like you're just like sitting there, exactly. Like you cut the tension. You're like, this is about to be so painful. Like I'm really excited to swim this because that's what I've been doing for the last year, 4 years, whatever. But like, I just totally. Like, I don't really want to deal with the pain today.
It's about to hurt so bad.
But it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I also say that that's the race for me, at least, when I'd break a record or go a best time. Like it was the most satisfactory. It was the most fulfilling. So I always say like that's why we do it. And I haven't had a child yet. So correct me if I'm wrong here. I may be wrong here. But like I feel like it's almost like childbirth. Like you, as soon as you swim a really great race and everything happens, you forget about the pain. And exactly. My philosophy is that's why we keep coming back and doing it.
Yeah, you're very right on the childbirth
Okay,
part.
I'm sure childbirth is way more painful.
I can speak to that more than the 400 IM.
I know childbirth is going to be way more painful than the 400 IM. I'm sure.
It just lasts a little bit longer. Yeah. Well, Summer, we want to be really cognizant of our time with you. We want to get to know Summer McIntosh as a 17-year-old. So we love talking swimming stuff, but we want to know a little bit more about you as a person, the things that you love, that you're interested in. You've talked about how important that balance is in your life and making sure you remain just that normal teenager that happens to be one of the best swimmers in the world at the same time. So what do you do that makes you feel like you're 17 years old, and how would your friends describe you?
Oh, how my friends would describe me? I don't really know. I've always had a hard time describing like myself through others' eyes or even through my own eyes. But what I do for fun, I mean, the main thing that comes to mind is during summer break, when I'm not swimming, like for around 2 weeks, I always go up to my cottage, which is about 2 hours from my house in Toronto.
And it's in Muskoka, right?
Yeah, it's in Muskoka, and it's on a lake. So I always go. This will be my 11th year of doing this, just a tradition, because my birthday's in the summertime. It's in August, so I usually bring a dozen of my friends up to my cottage, and we stay up there for a few days. It's not really like a birthday thing, but it kind of is a birthday thing. So yeah, I mean, my cottage is just, it's the best up there. Water skiing, tubing, wakeboarding, water trampoline, all things like that, and just chilling. And I like being outdoors and being with nature as much as possible, even though sometimes I can get stuck inside going on TikTok too much. But in the summer, it's just so nice to kind of get up there and take my mind off things, and even like fishing and things like that, because definitely my best memories throughout my life and my childhood were up at my cottage.
It is so beautiful up there. So my family would go up to a cottage in Muskoka. Do you know I'm a dual citizen?
Oh, you are? Wow.
I am. Yes. Yeah. So, and for anyone that's listening.
Yeah, I
so,
didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. I'm Canadian. Both my parents.
I knew you were Canadian, but I didn't know you were a dual citizen.
Yeah. So I was born in California, but my parents didn't move down to the States until, oh my gosh, I can't remember the exact year, but they were into their 40s when they moved to the States.
Oh, wow.
So my mom was from Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad went to St. Mary's. He was drafted for Argonaut football. And then when it got injured and went the corporate route. But so my family had a cottage in Muskoka, and it is so beautiful up there. We love it.
It's the
Yeah,
best.
and we still try and
get.
get up to Nova Scotia when we can. It's a little bit harder to get to. It's like super far east Canada. But it's gorgeous. And I still have family up there. My aunt and her partner live in Toronto. And we think we're going to do a big family trip up to Toronto.
That's so fun.
I know, which I'm so excited about. And I always tell people, so I'm curious, I'm going to ask you your top three things that Americans have to try or need to know about Canada. And mine are ketchup chips, Tim Hortons, and Roots clothing.
Oh, okay.
What are yours?
I would definitely say Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Ice caps. I love ice caps and I miss them. I would say, what are my other two? Okay, personally, my uncle makes, I don't know if it's harvest, but he makes like real maple syrup, like from the maple tree, and like tapping and everything. And it's like the best. I mean, like you'll have just like a spoonful of it and you'll be set. It's so good. Just like real, genuine, good maple syrup. It's the best in
Sounds
Canada.
heavenly.
And I also say Lululemon for sure, because it's Canadian. And I love Lululemon. I mean, I wear them every single day to practice, and I'm wearing them right now, of course. So they're based out of Vancouver. So those are my top three, I'd say.
Love it.
I love that. You listed a lot of things outdoors that require non-swimmer coordination. Are you like the water skiing? Like, are you good at water skiing?
I'd say I'm decent, just because growing up I did other sports, and I did water skiing since I was a pretty little kid, so I've always kind of been decent at it. I mean, doing it now definitely hurts my back, and I'm not as good at it. I can't do anything any crazy tricks or anything, but my cousins actually are snow skier. What
Like
would you call it?
snowboarding? Skiers?
Skiers, like snow,
Downhill?
like on the snow, not on water. Yeah, downhill skiers. But they can do all these crazy like flips and tricks and things like that. So maybe I got a little bit of that gene or something. But yeah, I'm definitely more of a wakeboarder now. But I can't do anything crazy. But definitely my favorite thing to do when I'm on a boat is tubing. I love tubing, even though it's getting to the point where it's probably kind of dangerous. I don't want to injure myself. But it's so fun. It's so fun.
I feel like it depends on the driver. If the driver's trying to make you wipe out, it's over. But if the driver's like, I just want you to have a fun time, then it's. But I feel like I always get the drivers that try to make you wipe out, so it's never fun.
Oh, well, Summer, we have 3 questions that we end with that we ask all of our guests. So we'll start with those now. The first one is, what is a moment within the sport of swimming during your career that has brought you the most amount of joy?
I would say breaking the world record in the 400 individual medley at Canadian trials this previous year. I mean, that was such a special moment, because that's something I've dreamed of since I was a very, very small little girl. Growing up in the sport of swimming, I had so much passion for the event, and I always loved it just because it was such a hard and tough event, and it was such a strategic event, and it took so much toughness, and the training input is just like it takes a lot, right? So kind of seeing all of my training and all my kind of goals come into fruition in that event was so cool. I vividly remember the race like it was yesterday. I mean, on the 100 freestyle, I was literally like screaming at myself underwater. Like it was like a complete, which I've never done before in a race, but I literally gave it my all. Like it probably the most painful. It was the most painful race I've ever done, but obviously it was very much worth it in the end. So that's probably the happiest race I've ever had within the sport of swimming. And just such a cool moment to share in my favorite pool in the whole world at TPASC, along with all the Canadians in the stands and my friends and my family and my teammates on deck and my coach, of course. So that's definitely probably the top one for me.
What an incredible moment. Oh my gosh. Can't even imagine how special that must have been for you.
I mean, I feel like the races where you can actually remember what you were doing on the last 100 or 50 of the race are the most special. Because I don't think there's a couple races where I'm like, oh, like I actually remember like smiling, like the first Olympic team I made in 04. I was smiling on the last 50. And that's saying a lot in the 400 I am. Like, so totally. It's such a cool thing to be able to like, oh, I can pinpoint that moment, that one moment in time. And then all the pain kind of melts away when you touch the wall. So
yeah, totally.
That's amazing.
It's all adrenaline.
Yes. All right. So same question, but what's your favorite moment outside the sport that's brought you the most joy?
I would say kind of just going back to my cottage. I mean, I love going up there and it's always the best, but honestly, I haven't been able to go in person in a while, but anytime I get to watch my sister skate, I get extremely emotional, especially with the choreography she does in the past few years. It's more like, it's kind of tells a whole story, and it just brings like tears to my eyes sometimes, and I get to watch it with my mom a lot of the time, and she gets so nervous, and I get really nervous too, because it's such a dangerous sport, but it's just so cool to watch my family member and my sister achieve her goals and her passion in her sport as well, because I just understand that on such a deep level. So it brings me so much joy and happiness, and at the same time I'm like shaking and so nervous, but yeah, it's so cool to watch.
Oh, getting to share that again with your mom, with your sister, it's so incredible to hear that, and I'm so happy that you have that and you get to share in these experiences with them, because they're not experiences that a lot of people get to have.
So
and
rare
to get to truly experience them with people who not only understand them but are also your family and that love you unconditionally. Yeah, totally. And that's really amazing, Summer. Our last question is, if you had to pick one word to encompass something that you're working on, something that motivates you moving forward, what would that word be and why?
I think I'd pick the word energy, just because it can mean so many different things. But for me, I'd say focusing on positive energy and surrounding yourself with people and activities and places that bring positive vibes and energy to you every single day is super important, because I'm a huge believer that you become your surroundings, and who you surround yourself with and what you surround yourself with is what you will become eventually. So, and trying to always have the most energy as possible, and kind of every single day waking up bright and full of energy and excited to start the day, and kind of finding that energy through relationships and surroundings is super important as well. I always try to surround myself with the best people and people that I know have my best interests, and I same for them as well. And that, of course, is my family and my friends, my coaches, my teammates, and all of that sorts of things.
Who and what you surround yourself with is what you will become.
Yeah.
Can we just take a moment for that?
It's so true. It's so true.
So profound.
So profound. Oh, well, Summer, I could keep talking to you all day, but we'll let you go. I know you're busy. You've got a lot going on. We just thank you for the insight and the conversation, and we wish you all the best of luck this summer. We'll be your biggest fans cheering you on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun to get to talk to you guys.
Thanks, Summer. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for listening and watching Unfiltered Waters. We are so grateful for your support. If you could please hit that subscribe button on any of the channels that you're watching, and maybe even give us a rating or review, we would appreciate it so much. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.